when was the last time Michael Lomax was here? I guess it might have been a year ago. We did doing the same show. He and I, we were having a discussion, the intellectual fellow that he is, about this issue that we've been talking about, and I'll say that for another time. You've got the United.
I want to just say one thing.
Well, go ahead.
Because the issue of losing their rights, it stole a headline that was really an interesting headline that is coming out of the debate of these candidates, and the one that I'm very interested in. Of course, I don't participate in partisan politics as a president of the UNCF, but the issue of debt forgiveness for students. I mean, that was an exciting issue for me.
We talked about that the other day.
And I think that that's clearly going to be a debate issue in the presidential election, and it should be, because there's $1 trillion in debt that is around the necks of so many young people in this country who have gone to college. And I think we're going to begin to see the question of, should we remove that some portion of that debt? The other thing is free college. And I just want to make sure that I believe that one of those issues that the African American community should be very concerned about is, when we talk about free college, are we talking about free college at HBCUs and all HBCUs?
Well, you anticipated my next question, and that was, how does this impact HBCUs?
Well, we actually have had some discussions with the Warren policy team, and we do inform and give them guidance that we asked, do you want all HBCUs, all 101 HBCUs, to have access to free college as a part of this plan that you're having? And they said yes. Well, I said, well, you know what, the way you're articulating it, the private institutions would not have access to that.
Now, so because HBCUs are both private and public.
67 of them are public.
Okay.
But I don't believe Howard University would have access to a program like this. Hampton University, certainly Spelman, Morehouse, Dillard, Xavier, the institutions, Virginia Union, would not. And our belief is that if there is going to be a free college program, it should not be limited to public institutions, because if that's the case, many of those public institutions are highly selective, very wealthy students, so they're going to get a pass on paying tuition. But HBCUs, which have over 70% of their students are Pell eligible or low income, the students who attend private ones would not have access to it. So I think that I hope that if this becomes a debate discussion, that it gets more nuanced and more carefully considered. And what I'm saying to our college presidents and to students who ask me about these questions is, you have a lot of these candidates coming to your campuses. That's going to continue. Ask them the questions.
Yeah.
Ask them the questions.
Right. That's right.
And I do think that what is so exciting for me is, even on the issue of whether people who are in prison should have the right to vote, this is what civic participation is about. People are discussing issues that are important to the nation, and I hope that I see more of, as these candidates come to our campuses, that they're asking, what are your policies going to be that will ensure that I, as a black student, a low-income student, a first-generation student, that I get to go to the college of my choice?
Now, let me ask you this question, Dr. Lomax, and we're speaking with the CEO of the United Negro College Fund. You mentioned Pell grants.
Mm-hmm.
We had another interesting conversation about inmates,
yes.
and that was inmates getting Pell grants
yes.
while in prison
yes.
to further their education. Now, I would support that. And I don't think Martin Luther King Jr. would be disappointed.
No, I don't think so either.
But then and I knew you were coming in, and I wanted to save that question for you. How would that impact?
Well, as at the end of the Obama administration, there was a test program called Second Chance Pell.
Right.
And it was a trial to return to allowing inmates to have access to Pell so that they could, in fact, get education while they're in jail. And we know that most of the people who are incarcerated read at a 3rd or 4th grade level. They don't have high school diplomas. They don't have GEDs. So I believe it's in the nation's best interest to use constructively the incarceration time to help address issues so that when people are released, they don't there's not recidivism. So we support that. There are 2 historically black colleges that have participated in the second chance Pell program. One in Little Rock, Arkansas, and another one in Marshall, Texas, Wiley College in Marshall, Texas.
Yeah.
And I think and what I've heard and been talking with the presidents, this has been an extremely successful program. One of the things about the incarcerated is that, there's a real link between incarceration and family income and education. And so what we can assume is that many of the students that we know as our students at HBCUs, 70% of whom are low income and over 50% of the first in their families to go to college, many of them have family members who have been incarcerated.
Right.
So if we want to break the cycle of poverty and recidivism, we use education to do that.
Would you like, as head of the United Negro College Fund, would you like to see more historically black colleges and universities participating in this second chance?
Absolutely, because this is a part of their mission. The mission of these institutions has always been to take people who have had less access to educational opportunity and give them that opportunity. And we've done that traditionally, and I believe we can continue to do that. I think we should be in the prisons. I think we should be taking our teaching models, our developmental models into incarceration institutions and also into juvenile programs to help young people break that cycle. Education is so important, and that's why it's so important to have the opportunity to be on the Joe Madison Show today and to talk about UNCF's 75th anniversary, which we celebrate tomorrow, and we'll have a day of giving. But, what I'm trying to make people understand is that UNCF for 75 years has been fighting for historically black colleges, but it's also been fighting for educational opportunity for all low-income people and black people, and that's a big part of what we do, and that's why we're saying to people on our 75th anniversary, this is a day of giving, give, activate, support UNCF.
All right, question always asked, and let's get this. For every dollar that an individual contributes to the United Negro College Fund, how much is spent for scholarships versus overhead?
Well, it's about 90 cents on the dollar.
Okay, that's
and
really good.
And it goes. We don't just do scholarships. I want people to understand that. We do scholarships. We give direct financial support to 37 private historically black colleges. We underwrite very significant programs like a career pathways initiative that involves both public and private institutions. But a very important thing that we also do, and this is it's programmatic, it's not overhead, is that we work the Congress and the Department of Education and the White House to ensure that historically black colleges and low-income students get what they need. Last year alone, Joe, we increased funding for historically black colleges by the work of UNCF by 14%. $109 million in additional funds went to historically black colleges last year. And this year, our legislative initiative is to increase again by another $100 million the Title III program, which supports black colleges, to increase for, I believe it's going to be 3 to 4 years, another Pell, another program which will give another $85 million a year to black colleges. We are fighting to double the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is currently around $6,000. We think it should be about $12,000 a year to help low-income students. And so we're in there fighting for this every year. And so the support we give, yes, it does help a lot of scholarships. That's a big part of what we do. We support black colleges. But you
impact public policy too.
And that's where we're going to make a big difference. And so when we say engage at UNCF, we want to activate you to give, yes, to support black colleges, but to add your voice to our voice as we tell elected officials in the Congress, as we tell the White House, as we tell the Department of Education, this is what the black community...
Then, we're going to have to do, Dr. Lomax, we're going to have you come back, I think, maybe periodically or from time to time, because most people don't know about these advocacy positions that you're involved in. We only hear mostly when it's time to raise money.
Right.
Now, final question. I have 2 minutes, and I'll give you that last 2 minutes. There is always that argument, and you know it, and I know you've got an answer. Why do we still need historically black colleges and universities?
Yeah, we are here in our nation's capital. And, you know, black colleges represent 3% of all higher education institutions. We enroll 10% of all black people who are going to college across the nation, and we award 17% of the degrees. That's across the nation. That's when you add us with Alaska, Hawaii, South Dakota, North Dakota. But if you just look at the 21 states and the District of Columbia and the Virgin Islands where these institutions are actually located, we're actually enrolling about 24%, a quarter of all the black students who are going to college. We're awarding 26% of the degrees and 32% of the degrees in STEM here in our nation's capital, where you have two historically black colleges, Howard University and the University of the District of Columbia. They enroll, and there you also got Georgetown, George Washington, Catholic University, American University, and other small. Those two institutions enroll 70% of all black people pursuing 70% of all black people pursuing a college degree, and they award 70% of the degrees. So people are saying, do we still need black colleges? Go to those. In Mississippi, they award 50%. In Arkansas, 30%. And so, you know, it's not that these. So we don't have historically black colleges in Minnesota. Yeah. But in the states where they are, the Sun Belt, the old Confederacy, those institutions are killing it, and I think we don't understand that. And if you wiped out these institutions, can imagine what our nation's capital would be like without Howard University and the other institutions.
Wait, you got the last word.
The last word is support UNCF. Go to uncf.org.